All right, we are on to the complementary assignment, assignment 9. And before I get started on this, as we get into these more complex color schemes, even though at its basic level, the complement is a super basic scheme, we'll make it into a more complicated color scheme and mixtures. I want to show you the Adobe Capture App that I mentioned before. And I want to show you what it can do. So what I've got here is the app using the camera. I can point this at any color group. So there's one of my paintings. I can tap the screen to freeze it. And it's got all these little dots on here that are the color sliders. And as I move the dots over and around, I can make it pinpoint a specific color in the image that I'm taking. It'll show me those swatches. Then what I can do, I can hit this check mark like this. I can hit harmonies like this, and it'll show me where all those colors sit on the color wheel. So for example, in that scene, if I wanted to use this alizarin that is in that scene, I can then, for example, for this complementary project, I can move these dots straight across from the alizarin and take this dot and just put it in the center. And I can get my complement of that alizarin. So you can do the same on your color wheel of colors for choosing paint for this assignment. So we're doing complements, and this just annoys me. So we're doing complements, and for example, if we've got violet, we go straight across and we get yellow, and that's what I'll be using for our example here today. So the idea here is that we're going to create many colors using just these two complements. So what you'll do is you'll mix up the complements you're going to use, and you'll mix up quite a bit of that paint. So this wouldn't be enough for the whole assignment. Mix it up, put it in a container so you've got it and it's staying wet as well. For the first two sections of the design, and let me show you one of the projects someone has done. Something like this. You're doing the design, you are sectioning off areas, and each of those areas is going to have a color associated with it. And all the colors on this assignment are built just from those two hues. Something like this. You don't have to do this geometrically either. You aren't required to do this hard edge either. Some people do landscape paintings or other scenes that are just using the correct color combinations. So the most basic and easiest way to do layout is to just get your ruler out, do straight lines, and have things overlap so you make lots of little sections. Now, this is not the transparency project. So it's not like where this overlaps, you're mixing together this one and this one. Although you could do it that way if you wanted to, but that's not any part of the requirement on this assignment. So what's happening here is we've got two examples. Here's a 2, it's upside down for you. 2 examples, one each of the complements in their full saturation happening on the project. So here and here. These are the full saturation hues of the complements that they've found. Also notice they aren't right next to each other. Don't do that. If you put the complements right next to each other, it'll take over the whole scene. That'll draw the most visual attention because it'll be the highest amount of dynamism. We want to separate out those full hue versions. Then what you're going to do is show 5 examples of just these 2 piles of paint added together. So I've got these 2 pile of paints, and maybe one of my example uses a little bit of the violet and quite a bit more of the yellow. And just go with whatever happens. You notice this starts to get kind of brown. And that's because what we're doing is called breaking color. That's when you add complements together. They break down the hue and saturation and they start to go towards non-spectral color like brown. Maybe the next one I use even more yellow and even less of the violet. You see how powerful the violet is in this mixture. Maybe the next one I use more violet and about an equal amount of yellow. Here we retain more saturation of the violet within this mixture. Maybe the next one I do a ton of violet and a tiny amount of we're even closer to the violet. And then maybe I do a pinpoint of violet and more yellow. And I start to get kind of a greenish hue on this one. So I've got my 2 examples of full saturation of each of the complements. Then I've got my 5 examples of just those mixed together. Now, for the 15 additional colors, we're only adding in black and white. And this can be any combination of these two or these 2 original hues and or both black and white added in. So at its simplest, we could do a violet tint, right? Or we could do a violet tone. Nowhere, though, can you just do black and white together. So there's no pure gray happening anywhere on this. It's always going to be a tint, tone, and shade of either or both the colors mixed together. Maybe I take one of these mixtures then that already has both of those 2 original hues. Maybe I take one of those mixtures and I tint that. And here we start to get a really brown color, tan color. Maybe the next one I just use this lighter mixture we had of the 2 and I shade it. I guess I'm shading it a lot. And there we definitely get a dark gray green color. And so on. So I've got 5 there. I'll do 5 more, 5 more. So in the end, I'm gonna have at least 22 different colors, all built from the complements and their intermixture and the mixture in of black and white, so tints, tones, and shades of either or both of those colors together. So let's look at a few more examples. And this is the one we just saw. And here's where you can see everything that's going on. This huge variety of color that's created just from these 2 complementary base colors. Here's red and green. Now, for me, and I mentioned this, how much I despise the yellow and orange mixture or complementary pair when we did the color harmony lecture. I actually think red and green together border on that. I think they still work together, but it's really pushing it at that point. And red and green, we associate them with holidays, but other than that, they don't look that great together. I think there are better combinations, and for example, here is just shifted away from that of reddish orange and a slightly blued green. And this to me works a lot better. Again, you see the huge variety of color that we're getting from just these 4 piles of paint. The original 2 hues and black and white. This is really cool and elegant, but you'll see the problem here is they never showed a full saturation version of the 2 original hues. I like the simplicity of this, but they're not doing the assignment in its full. Here's another basic design, divided up into sections however you like. All of these look so similar because the very first example I did was this sort of design method, so everyone kind of did what I was doing. So I want to look at, here's a really perfected version. The painting on this is spectacular. The edge work and the surface work of the paint. So you can see the huge variety again of all the color that they're getting just from these small piles, a few piles of paint. This could go a lot more elaborate. You could fill the whole sheet. And here we've got this red violet mixed with this lemony yellow. And this borders on not working, but it's so well done and so precisely chosen that it does work. It's just enough violet in it that it works. And if you look on your color wheel, you can see what I mean, how this is a very teeter-tottery choice of complements, but it works. And look how much different color resulted from all of these mixtures. So, any questions, be sure to ask me, write to me, and other than that, I'll see you later.